guys, it's Phil coming back at you with another video. Today, I'm back. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Hopefully everyone's doing well, practicing self-care, doing the next right thing, building themselves up, not letting one thought, one situation, one person, taking them outside of what they know to be true, because I know exactly 84 people have done just that since my last video, because that's how many people went into the exam, kicked it directly in the chest to get the job done, and I'm blown away at how many people of you rep and rock with the Fill in the Gaps community. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys, and I know a lot of people on this list had doubt in their minds of whether they should do it or not. They've had previous attempts in the back of their mind telling them you can't do this, as well as people in their environments telling them like you are not going to be able to do this. You weren't built to be a social worker. But at the end of the day, I always tell you guys, do not let one thought, one situation, one person take you outside of what you know to be true. So let's see the 84 people that passed their exams. I'll get into the study groups that are coming up, and then I have a message that I've been thinking about of what I want to bring to you guys. And they are as follows: Lou N, Anna Marie F, Cindy A, Stephanie A, Josh L, Juliet P, Eddie M G, Kristen G, Angela H, Christine R, Robert L, Claire R, Cello, Dan D, Chelsea J, Amanda B, Amber R, Regina W, Ann S, Courtney L, Amelia D, Alexandria S, Mackenzie F, Paula P, Katie O, Mary B, Kim S, Happiness A, Jennifer G, Megan M, Claire M, Laura P, Heather T, Andrea V, Maria K, Michaela F, Ethan W, Brandon D, Lindy L, Anna G, Dennis S, Cheryl M, Agnes W, Travis H, Linda H, Yadira C, VT, Crystal G, Christine D, Marquita M, Sophia S, Claire CW, Karen CW, Courtney S, Sonia Lee Z, Porter C, Huda I, Charmaine P, Julia K, Haley W, Leroy W, Michelle O Y, Tidra S, Kayla N, Jen L, Jennifer C, Brittany M, V Williams, Jasmine E, Zanib B, Mary O M, Stacy M, Catherine H, Sharon L, Shannon N, Julie B, Christina M, Casey W, Brian M, Andrea B, Velma P, Winnie N, Rosie F, Maria F, Chantel J, Nina T, and Holly C. I'm so excited, man, and it's so amazing to me how much you guys rep and rock with me, and I always reflect on, like, man, what did life do to make me get this opportunity, or what makes me able to do this? And I just appreciate every single one of you guys, and from the bottom of my heart, if you're listening to this, know that it's not just me saying the words. Like, I truly feel that in my heart, and whenever I think about how much of an impact that you guys have allowed me to do, and the Fill in the Gaps community has allowed me to do, it just is mind-blowing to me, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you want me to share your name as well, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, and if you're like, Phil, I want to rep and rock with you as well, how can I do that? I like your style, I like what you're doing, but I'm not really sure how I can do that. The easiest way to be able to do that is the Sunday study groups that I have every single Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And the next Sunday study groups are as follows: 11-7, Community Interventions; 11-14, Acronym and Practice Questions. So we'll be going through each level of the acronym as well as going through practice questions. And I always say it, do not come into this session expecting to get every single one correct, because people do that. Go into the sessions and they start beating up on themselves for not getting as many questions correct as they need to. And I always tell people I write the questions harder than that are on the actual exam to put you through difficult and challenging situations outside of the exam. So that way when you go inside of the exam, it's easier. And I get emails all the time of like, Phil, I was so mad at you during those sessions that these questions were so hard. But then I kept in the back of my mind, like, where's the trick at during the actual exam? And your questions were more difficult. So if you're looking for difficult questions, repping and rocking with my study groups is an easy way to do that. The next one after that is 11-21, going over ethics, so going over the code of ethics and going over different practice questions related to that. 11:28, DSM-5 adults and meds, so we'll be going over the personality disorders, schizophrenia spectrum, bipolar 1 versus bipolar 2 disorder, as well as different ways not to memorize the medications, but recognize and apply the medications to questions when we see them. 12:5 practice questions, and as I said with the 11:14 session, do not come into the session expecting to get every single one correct, but if you want to attend both the 11:14 and the 12:5 practice question session, it's 100% possible because the questions will be different. And I know sometimes people get confused and say, well, other people utilize the same questions. Are you the same way? Absolutely not, because I try to include as many unique questions as I can in the session, so that way you're still able to rap and rock with me as much as you possibly want to. And if you're not able to attend these sessions live, it's 100% possible to receive the recording and materials after the session, as long as you pay as if you were going to go into the session live. So register in the link in the description down below. It'll take you to my calendar, register for the session, and add your name to the email list to receive the materials and recording to watch at your own leisure after the session. So if you're not able to attend the sessions live, that is A-okay. And if you want any information related to those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link down below in the description. And the description is the box under the title that says view or show more. Click that. It'll show you links to both the Audible affiliate link. It'll show you my individual tutoring calendar. It'll show you the Sunday study groups. It'll show you the one-day course, etc. As well as if there are topics that you're not seeing on this list that you want to get access to, it's 100% possible to get access to the previously recorded sessions that I've had in the past. If you want information related to those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. As well as I do still offer individual tutoring sessions as well, but my schedule tends to be pretty hairy and books out 4 to 5 weeks in advance. So if you're looking to get a tutoring session with me and your exam is further out than 4 to 5 weeks, you can send me an email at berda24@gmail.com and I'll add you to the tutoring waiting list. And if I get availability, I'll drop you a shout and get you a session. But if your exam is a little bit further out, aka 4 to 5 weeks in advance, it's 100% possible to get a tutoring session with me. And it's always amazing to see the transformation of people when they're in the tutoring sessions of doubting themselves, beating themselves up, and by the end of the session, being able to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. And if you want information related to the individual tutoring sessions, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link down below in the description. Again, that's under the title that says show more. It'll show you all of the information related to study groups, as well as the opportunities to be able to connect with me, as well as the one-day course is coming back. And I know this is kind of short notice, and I'll get into that in just a little bit, because I was debating on whether I should be recording this video, because it's it's not on the right time length. It's not where you should be. It's not giving people enough time to register for the sessions. What are you doing? You should have done this a couple days ago, and all those different things. And I'll get into that in the message at the end, but I just wanted to let you know this is going to be short notice. But again, if you're not able to attend the session live, or you want to get the recording of the session, that is going to be tomorrow, 11/6 from 11 a.m. Eastern time until whenever they kick us out. And they can't really kick us out because I'm the host, and I say whenever because the session ends when it ends. And what I mean by that is the last session that I had, that was the one-day course, went until 12:30, so midnight, 30 minutes after midnight, because we go through all the different content areas, as well as there's a question and answer segment, just like in the Sunday study groups. But I want to make sure that I answer every single question, because I know a lot of programs, you attend them, you don't really get directly interact with the individual, or if they do, they kind of big time you, they don't really give you an answer, they dance around the question that you ask. But at the end of the day, I'm willing to answer any questions that you particularly have. So if you're interested in that, the topics that will be covered are as follows. Tips I find most helpful for people to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. Most common reasons why people fail the exam, because the best way to be able to identify how to not make the same mistakes are by learning from the mistakes that people have made in the past. And if you come into the session, the first couple of hours or the first little bit of the session is going to be some motivation. So if you're feeling unmotivated, that is where I come from and the tips I find most helpful and most common reasons why people fail, because I want to build you up. I want you to feel so dang good that you can run through a wall when you get into the exam versus sitting there and doubting and debating on, man, do I know exactly what I'm particularly doing? But after we get through the motivation, we get into breaking down some tricky topics that people typically struggle with. Subpoena versus court order, referral versus supervision, operant conditioning. We go into the stages of community organizing, DSM-5 diagnosis, personality disorders, difference between schizophrenia spectrum, as well as bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 disorder. We go through the medications. Again, not ways to be able to memorize them, but be able to recognize and apply them on the exam, as well as going over the acronym and the 5-step process that I recommend every single person to utilize when going to the exam to kick it directly in the chest, to get the job done, not going with the last sentence, not jumping to conclusions, not going with the buzzwords. You're not a bee. You're going to get stung, as well as going over 25 of the hardest practice questions that I can muster up. And I write unique practice questions for all of the one-day courses. So if you've been in one before, the content that we cover is relatively the same, with the main difference being the practice questions. And I always say, do not come into these sessions expecting to get every single one right, because at the end of the day, the way that I rate these questions is not for you to get and feel good. It's to put you through difficult situations and push you and mold you into the best possible social worker that you can be. So that way, when you go into the exam, when your back's against the wall, you're not throwing your hands up to submit and say, no, get me out of here. You're throwing them up and ready to hit and knock them out like you were Tyson in his prime. So if you want any information related to the one-day course, or if you want to attend, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description. Again, that is the section under the title that says show more, and it'll allow for you to be able to sign up. And again, if my ability or inability to upload this in that far of advance, and you want the recording of the session, because it's 100% possible to obtain the recording of the session. And if you sign up to attend the live session and you're not able to stay the entire time, or you just don't show up at all, you're going to be sent the recording anyway. So that's the main benefit, because you go to a lot of these courses and you have to memorize and remember everything. But at this one-day course, you're able to actually review it back, go at your own pace, pet the pages again, and then go back to the questions and review them as many times as you want to be able to go into the exam, to kick it directly in the chest, to get the job done. As well as, if you could do me a favor, click the thumbs up button down below, hit the like button, so that other social workers just like you can be able to find my videos and rep and rock with me as well. As well as, if you have not already, please click the subscribe button down below and hit the bell notification next to it, so that way you can be notified every single time that I upload. As well as, I know I'm asking a lot of you guys, but please, also hit a comment down below of something positive, something that you've been doing to improve yourself or anything like that, because it really helps out, especially with if I'm like doubting if this is actually helping people. I look in the comments and people are like, man, this is deep. This is really serious stuff. And I appreciate you doing that. So it helps me continue going and driving, and I know it helps other people as well. And for those that do not know, Audible has continued to support me as well as my podcast. So they're repping and rocking with one of my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial. It's an easy way for you to be able to rep and rock with me, and it costs you absolutely nothing, because when you sign up, they kind of give back to the channel and help me be able to do different things. So if you could do me a favor, go to the Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. And if you're like, man, I don't really want to type this out, click down below in the description. Again, it's under the title that says show more, and it gives you a free book. And if you're like, Phil, what is Audible? I want to rep and rock with you. Audible is an easy way to get information and gain knowledge on the go. So if you're busy like me, or you can't really sit down and read a book and pet the pages, Audible is an easy way to get audiobooks on the go, so that way you can gain knowledge and progress to be the best possible version of yourself that you can be. So again, if you want to help me, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com patreon.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial, because when you sign up for the 30-day free trial, that's how you support me, and you get a free book. And if you're like, Phil, I'm not really sure what book I want to get, there are a couple that I would recommend, and they are as follows: The Alchemist, The Archer, Outliers, and Traumatized. Each of these books have knowledge that you can help progress yourself professionally as well as personally, because the goal is not just to be able to progress professionally all the time, but get more on that personal level with yourself and being able to identify particularly where you're at, as well as, if you have not checked it out already, check out my podcast. It's on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify at Fill in the Gaps. And the message that's been on my mind, and I know a lot of you aren't really into this type of stuff, but if not, you can just skip to the rest of the video. But something that's been on my mind is a lot of people are going through a lot of things and they're not really addressing them or giving themselves grace, or they're letting their external world take them down. And what do I mean by this? As I hear it all the time is, Phil, I'm not really sure if I can really do this. I'm hearing a lot of things from my exterior environment. Either it's my boss, either it's my job, maybe it's my partner, maybe it's friends, maybe it's the exam itself, telling me that I'm not doing exactly what I need to be doing to be the best possible version of myself. And even today, like I said, man, I debated on uploading this video because I was like, man, you're late. No one's going to watch this. You should have done this days ago, and you could have done this, and you should have done that. Because I maybe overcommitted on a couple of things and did things that I probably shouldn't have done. But at the end of the day, if you sign up for something and you have your name on it and you put a commitment forth, do not let one thought, one situation, one person, or one inconvenience or anything stop you from what you need to be doing. Because as I was doing this, something happened that really set it off, man. I was driving, going to the store to return something. I saw somebody that I grew up with, and whether he knows it or not, and he probably won't even watch this video, honestly, because he's not a social worker. Me just seeing him and reminding myself, like, man, he helped you out when you were struggling, man. Like, when you didn't have anything. And he noticed you, and he took the time to take this out. So what are you doing not to take out the time for yourself today? Because somebody was willing to take a shot on you. You guys are willing to take a shot on me. Why am I going to give you guys less? Or why am I going to let my perception of what the situation is paint the picture of what it actually is? Because you guys may not even worry when it's uploaded. You guys may not even care what happens. So what I'm saying is, you failing the exam or you doubting yourself before you even get into the exam may be taking you outside of what is actually going to happen. You do not know what's going to happen. You don't have the ability to write the story. I don't have the ability to write the story. What we can do is look inside, because when you look inside, that is when you're going to win. So if you take the word in from inside and look at the word win, it is there, because when you look inside, you are going to win. But when you look from an outside perspective and you look from an exterior motivation, or you look to the outside of yourself to motivate you or to get yourself going, that is where doubt is. So if you take the word out from outside and look at the word doubt, that is where it's at. Because when you start taking outside forces or letting outside things outside of yourself determine your worth, that is when doubt starts winning. That is why people start doubting themselves and letting other people in the situation. You need to start building yourself up and remembering where you came from and not where you need to go. You need to remember where you came from and the environments that cultivated you, all these different things, and the people that are telling you that you can do it versus the things that are telling you that you can't do it, the things that you're telling yourself you can't do, because you do not know what you're capable of. No one knows what they're actually capable of until they're put into situations where they actually have to determine what they're worth. No one knows exactly what comes from inside of us until we're put into situations where we have to pull it outside and tell ourselves, this is the last thing I need to do or I die. If this is not what I do today, I will not know what comes tomorrow. But if I do not lay my head on that pillow, knowing that I gave everything that I got to today, then I will not have it tomorrow, because I will be beating myself up for the rest of my days. That's why every single video that I put out, every single thing that I tell you guys, I think about it. I'm intentional and deliberate, but I have to lay everything that I have on the line, because I never know when my last day is. I never know when my last video is. I never know who needs to hear the messages that are stuck inside of my mind, because I need to stop getting so caught up on what I need to say and just let it out. So you need to let your true version out inside of the exam, inside of every situation that you have, because if you always play small, or you let the outside world tell you what you need to be doing in your own situation, you will never have the environments and never have the communities and never have the opportunities that you've been built for. Because in order to have an opportunity, you must have unity from inside of yourself. So you need to pull it outside of yourself, not let outside factors tell you what you are supposed to be doing with and for your situation. That's why I live and breathe. Do not let one thought, one situation, one person that is negative impact out what you're doing. But let one thought, one situation, one person that is positive tell you what you need to be doing at the end of the day, because they are seeing things inside of you that you can't see inside of yourself at that moment. That's what I mean is when I saw that person that I grew up with, I was like, man, he saw something inside of me that I couldn't see in myself at that moment. And whether he knows it or not, he ignited something that made me go like, wow, I can't believe this is where this is at right now. Like, this is insane to me that I could start from there and get here, but it was not based on my own fruition. It was based on you guys repping and rocking with me. That's why I try to give you guys is everything that I have. And it's amazing how many guys support me and rep and rock with me and just do whatever you got to do, man. Because at the end of the day, you guys are all awesome, amazing, and can get to the next level, but you have to get inside of yourself and make the internal processes that you have correct. Because you could have all the skills, abilities, and talents, but if you do not believe that you possess something valuable, you will not have value. And not to say you're not a valuable human, but if you do not view what you have as valuable, because value is subjective from one person to the next. So if somebody views you as valuable, but if you don't view yourself as valuable, you're the only person that is going to be around yourself 100% of your days. But if other people are telling you that you can do things, but in the inside you don't believe it, you will not achieve it, because belief is what you can achieve, and what you perceive is what you're going to achieve. So if you perceive better things for yourself, of course you're going to achieve them. But if you don't see anything better for yourself, you're not going to achieve that as well. So at the end of the day, keep believing in yourself, keep repping and rocking, because at least one person on this planet believes that you can do it, and that is me. I don't care what your boss says. I don't care what your coworkers say. I don't care what your spouse says. I don't care what your friends say. I don't care what the social media page says. You can do this. Whether it's the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time. If you're up to the 12th, 15th, 30th time, I'm still looking at you and saying, what are you going to do about it? Because you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And as I always say, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you. The rest of this video is going to be me interacting with people that are just getting ready to prepare to go inside their exams, as well as identifying ways for people that are struggling to pass the exams to go into the exam, to kick it directly in the chest, to get the job done. If you need anything from me, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And I hope to see you guys all in the Sunday study groups, individual tutoring. Sign up for the Audible affiliate link. And I'm not playing with it. If you are looking and not being motivated within your situation, the one-day course tomorrow is going to be that fire that you need under your hide to go into that exam and no longer hide from who you're supposed to be. You have to unlock what you need to achieve in order to believe in yourself, and that way you can perceive where you need to go. And I'm getting the heck out of here, guys. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And peace out, guys. I'm taking the LSW this coming Friday, hoping for better results than last time. Any last minute recommendations? So my biggest recommendation would be to reflect on the things that you don't feel as comfortable in. So I always call them the vulnerabilities. What are the vulnerabilities or gaps within your preparation, and identifying things that can help supplement those areas? Why am I saying this? Because as I've stated in the past, the most under-discussed component of the exam is the mental part of the exam. And what do I mean by this? A lot of times people only focus on the techniques and strategies and all those different things, but when your back's against the wall and you have to face the exam, if you have not planned for the spikes in anxiety or the self-doubt that could ensue during the exam, then you've left yourself in a vulnerable position. However, if you have vulnerabilities within the content areas that you're like, man, I'm not really sure that I'm that comfortable in community or in research or my medications or the acronym or the process of being able to break down the question. So being able to identify ways to rectify or fill in the gaps of the preparations or the vulnerabilities of what you're seeing. Because a lot of times people are like, oh my God, I'm not really sure. But if you slow yourself down, take it step by step, devise a plan, put purposeful energy and focus into the areas that you need to, because where your energy flows, your focus is going to go. And when your focus goes, your energy flows as well. So being intentional and deliberate within whatever you're trying to do is going to be super duper important. But beyond that, based on what you've said of hoping for better results than last time, you don't need to hope. You need to be able to believe that what you're doing is going to lead to better results than last time. Because if you have doubt in your mind, you're telling yourself there is a possibility of you not being able to execute at the level that you believe. No one that has succeeded has doubted themselves and said, well, maybe this is going to work out. You can have doubts of like, man, there's a chance of me passing or me failing. But at the end of the day, I've put in all this work and all these situations and all these new techniques and all this growth that I've made preparing to walk into this exam. Nothing is going to stop me besides my own ability and my focus and my mental capacity to be able to handle this at this given moment. Because the only thing that can dictate whether you pass or fail is the 170 questions that are in front of you the day of your exam. No questions I give you, no questions other people give you, no materials, no topic areas. None of this thing matters besides the 170 questions that you see the day of your exam. And a lot of programs will say, if you get an X amount of percent on our practice exams, you're almost guaranteed to walk in and pass the exam. Or if you pass the practice exam, the likelihood of you walking in and passing the real exam is tensfold. Anyone that's telling you these things are trying to do things from their own experience. However, I've worked with people that walk in, kill the practice exam, and then expect to walk in and kill the real exam, and they get murdered based on the fact that they took their foot off the pedal when it was the process of being able to break down the questions on the practice exam that got them to be able to pass that, not anything that is going to be fed up of, all right, I have everything taken care of. But being intentional and deliberate and focusing in the energy that you need to till you finish the game is going to be way more important than being like, well, I passed all these practice exams, so I should be able to do this. No, the only thing that dictates whether you pass or fail is the 170 questions that you see the day of your exam. So being willing to focus on things and not take the results, but focusing on the process. And you need to make sure that all of the actions that you do leading up to your exam is going to lead to you passing. So that means the environments that you're in, the people you're talking to, the questions that you see, all of these different things are going to dictate the capability of you being able to walk into the exam and pass. And that doesn't mean, all right, well, I attended Phil's one-day course or I attended Phil's study groups, I have a high likelihood of passing. It's what did you take from those things? Because way too many times people are like, Phil, I repped and rocked with you, or I'm repping and rocking with this other program. They telling me everything is good. All this stuff is sweet. And it's like, well, are you carrying out the processes that are being introduced to you? Or are you just punching the ticket and saying, I attended this, so I should be in a better position than I would have been otherwise? You could be, but things aren't done through osmosis. You can't just touch something and get the information. You have to be willing to sit your tush down and not just follow somebody, but being able to apply what the person is doing. So don't just say that you follow a particular program or follow a particular person. Don't say you rep and rock with somebody if you're not going to actually follow what that person's telling you to do at that situation or in that situation or that moment. Or if you're like, well, I'm doing this ish, don't do ish. You need to be focused, intentional, deliberate, make sure that you're sticking to the program that you're actually doing. And if the program doesn't work for you, then don't do it. Just because your friend says it's a good situation or a good process or a good situation that they were in does not mean that material, that situation, the thought, all of these things are actually going to work for you. So being willing to look at yourself and say, am I doing everything that I can that is going to work for me, not that's worked for my friend, not that's what's worked for my supervisor, not what's worked for this random person that's trying to sell me something or any way, shape, or form. Making sure that what you are doing is actually leading to where you want to go and not just trying to mimic somebody. So if you're going to walk into this exam, you need to make sure that you're 100% who you are in order to give 100% to that exam and not shooting for 100%, but being able to look yourself in the face and say, I did everything that I thought was right to walk into that exam and get everything right. But if I do not pass, it's not anything related to me. It's what I did or the questions that I saw, but it does not mean that I can never walk in there again and give it 100%. That's what people get down on themselves is, well, I thought this was going to happen and I've never failed anything in my life. And it's like, welcome to the club. Anyone that's successful or done something at some capacity that impacts other people have failed over and over and over and over. And the difference is that they've never given up on themselves. It doesn't mean that they haven't made changes. Doesn't mean that they haven't failed again. It just means that I was willing to look at the situation, critique myself, self-assess myself, if you will, and get to the job done and say, well, it wasn't anything that related to me. It's I may have had to fill or bridge the gap with something, and now I filled that gap. It's game on. I now know what I need to do, whether that's learning your learning style, whether that's learning a technique, whether that's learning strategies, whether that's getting connected with somebody, whether that's watching videos, whether that's doing any of these things to supplement something. And I said supplement, not take over the process. So if you already have a process that's working, making sure that you're going through that and not just throwing away your past exams anymore. So that would be my recommendations of, I'm hoping for a better result. It's, I know I'm going to do better because I know more. And when you know more, you do more. And when you know better, you do better. So that's what you need to do, is being able to walk in and do what you need to do in order to get what you've been working for. All of this stuff is a comprehensive situation. So each day needs to connect to one another, and the energy that you put in is going to waver, but it needs to equate to 100% at the end of the day. So that's what I would recommend for somebody that's getting ready to walk in. I'm hearing there are a lot of community questions. What should we really know regarding community? So this is a really tricky question for me, and I get it a lot of, what should I know about X component or X content area? In this context, it's about community or community interventions or community practice, if you will. And what I typically tell people is to view community, individual work, and all of these things as similar things. And what do I mean by that? So the way that you would address a community concern is the same way that you would address an individual client. So the purpose of working with an individual client is to meet them where they're at, provide what they need, get the job done and work collaboratively with them, and improve the functioning in some way, shape, or form that they want to focus on. Way too many times people read a community question, freak out, and almost lose their ability to reason through that question. So what you need to know about the community questions is, what is the community organizing process, as well as what are easy ways that you can view it as if it is an individual client. So for example, if I'm working with an individual client, the absolute first goal is to establish rapport. So if I'm working with a community, my first goal is to establish rapport. Why? Because I'm not going to march into somebody's community or their home and say, this is the changes that you guys need to make based on who I am, and I have all the knowledge and credentials to tell you so. That community is going to say, get the heck out of here. And if you're in certain communities, you might not make it out of that community. And the second objective when working with an individual client is to identify one particular that they would like to work on. Same thing with the community. You know who I am. I examine what particularly you want to work on, and then we supplement and identify ways that we can get there, which leads us into like program development of, let's develop a program, walk us through this, and then get to the better functioning or best level of function that is possible for that community based on the needs that they've identified. So when it comes to individual work and community work, don't get yourself tripped up, because at the end of the day, the processes that you do with an individual client is the same with a community client. So when you see a question related to community practice, examine it like it is an individual client of what has been done before, what is currently going on, and what is the best thing that meets them where they're at. So that's what I would say you'd need to know when it comes to community questioning. And of course, that's a broad generalized stroke of, there's more concepts and things related to that, but an overall view to ease your mind, that is a beginning step of how you should look at the community work versus an individual work versus policy work. I failed 3 times by 2 to 6 points each time. I'm here because I'm lost in even what to do next. I guess just answer the questions correctly.
So I have been studying for about 4 years, and there's just been a million things that have come life-wise in between. And every time I've taken the exam, it's changed. I'm in Michigan, and it's changed every single time. Yeah. And so that's kind of been stressful, because each time it's gotten a little worse. The 3 times I've taken it, I passed by 2, and then, it's kind of gotten worse going from that. There. No. So, just any kind of recommendation on, hey. No. Yeah, so sorry. Any kind of recommendation on what, how to answer the questions. I guess I haven't followed a process, so I'm really interested in learning how you answer the questions well, and kind of what that process is to look like in order to answer the questions, because I've been practicing for 6 years, so I do know the majority of the content is just the answering of the questions, I guess.
Okay. So from what you've said, out of the 3 attempts, it's gotten progressively worse score-wise. And based on that, what is your view of your 3 previous exam attempts? Like, what is your view on them?
The first time, I think I was kind of naive, and I was like, oh, it'll be fine. Everyone passes. And then now I'm like, I don't really want to do it. But so listening to a lot of your encouragement and getting in the right mindset has been more helpful since my test is coming up soon. So yeah, I think I've done a lot of the practice exams and I've passed them every time. And then I go into the test and fail. So I think a lot of that negative thinking definitely has created kind of a little bit of a mini monster. So fighting those cognitive distortions. But yeah, I just feel like I need something different because I'm close. I'm just not able to pull through, if that answers your question.
So my biggest recommendation would be to reflect on what it was like to be naive and what that excitement looked like. Because now that you failed it, your view of the exam is like, whatever, I'll just go in there, see what it's like, and then that's all right. So you've almost lost your fire to be able to pass this thing, which is weird because when people hear, well, I was naive, it means, well, they didn't have the knowledge or experience. Now, the more experience you have, the worse that you've done based on the fact that you view that experience or exposure as a negative thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think, I just don't know. I've been studying. I've been trying different a few different programs. I do have like dyslexia and ADHD, and I'm pregnant for a second time. So I'm unmedicated. So trying to do little chunks of studying has really helped. And I think you suggested that. Being able to just focus for 30 minutes is way easier than sitting down for 2 or 3 hours. So that's been really helpful. But yeah, I think just being able to slow down and know kind of how you break down the questions and being able to kind of follow, like how you said, everyone has their own process of learning. So for me, I don't think I've ever really had a process of answering question. I've always done terrible standardized tests. So that's also something I've had like my whole life. So just really being able to like sit down and focus on what the answer is. And by breaking it down and following hopefully your steps of how, you are doing that, will hopefully be helpful this time. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you actually think you can pass?
Yeah. I'm capable of it.
Then how come when you talk about the exam, it's, well, maybe, or hopeful, or I'm not sure?
Because the last few times I failed.
Okay.
So yeah, changing that cognitive kind of thinking.
Well, let me ask you this. And this isn't a real situation, so don't be like, all right, let's do a backdoor deal. But let's say I could get you 340 actual ASWB test questions. What would you say?
Great.
You'd be like, how much? All right, here's my bank account. Here's my house. Here's my life.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, like go in and pass the test. Yeah, for sure.
But you have that exposure. You have the same exposure. You're just viewing it as a negative situation.
Mm-hmm.
You just told me I've seen the test, 340 actual questions. I don't remember it, but I've answered the majority of them correct. So I just need to be able to push past where I thought I should be at this point and sit where I actually am.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest recommendation, is not just be like, man, I need to push past that, but put active action around, this is the last second of my life that I'm going to have a maybe next to any goal that I ever have for myself, including this exam.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you've ever doubted yourself, you are taking yourself away from your goals anyway, because if you believe you can't do something, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. You're right.
So you almost have to look yourself in the mirror tonight, if not after this, and say, I am done second guessing myself, because every time I second guess myself, I am robbing myself from an opportunity or experience, bar if I pass or fail the experience that is needed to get where I actually want to go.
Yeah. You're right.
So that's where it starts, because a lot of times people will be like, yo, Phil, I've been repping and rocking with your videos. You say a lot of positive things. You tend to be upbeat and motivated 100% of the time. I'm repping and rocking with it. My main question is, what have you done with it, though?
Yeah. Stayed in the same spot, I guess.
Yeah, you're like, man, he's so motivating. He's pumped up. I need to tell people about this guy. He's high energy. But rather than looking at it and being like, how can I apply at least one thing this guy has said, you're almost looking like, all right, I've been exposed to it, and that's enough, and I should be good. And then you walk in, pop! It doesn't go how you want it to, and you're like, whoa! Why didn't that work? And it's like, practice. Because every time that you've taken the exam, you just told me, I switched my process or switched the program I was repping with, and I'm not even sure where to turn now, because I've turned every stone over and I'm not sure where to go. And it starts with you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And
Yeah.
I didn't mean to like lean in on you.
That's fine.
But I feel like a lot of times as social workers, we almost have a double standard, if you will, of, man, I'm going to put everyone else accountable. I'm going to help everybody else get where they need to go. And when it comes to us, we aren't willing to invest anything into ourselves. We will stop ourselves from eating lunch. We will stop ourselves from doing self-care. We will stop building ourselves up. We will talk negatively to ourselves. We will do everything for everybody else and build everyone else up, that when our cup is to get filled, it has the cap on it. So even when people are willing to fill us up, we're like, well, this feels weird. Why is someone giving back to me? And it's like, everybody needs help at some capacity. No one has been able to succeed by themselves.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to mislead. I think my biggest issue was switching what I was trying to do to try to pass. I've been to multiple study. Just so many things that I guess I do just have to sit down and focus on one thing and keep going, instead of just trying to figure it out in small chunks.
Mm-hmm. In identifying what that means for you. It doesn't have to be me, doesn't have to be anything else. It's like, yo, I have all these materials around me. Which one actually resonates with me? Because the more materials I have does not equate to more knowledge that I have, or more capabilities or probability of passing the exam.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
It is my pleasure, and I don't mean to add an extra resource to you, but if you want, you can come to the study group tomorrow as my guest. Just send me an email, and I'll try to help as much as I can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is my pleasure. And if you need anything, just let me know.
Okay.
In September, I missed passing by 4 points. This is the closest I've been. Prior 3 attempts missed by 10 or 13. I'm trying to figure out what to do this next time around. I test in January.
Hi, Phil. I am taking my LCSW again in January. I found you just before my attempt in January of this year. What was it? I think I missed passing by, I think it was maybe 10 points didn't feel that I had a strategy. Anxiety was huge, over the top. But what I've noticed, I've been following your groups and doing different things, but my confidence level has gotten better, which I believe helped me this last time, because I went in there and I usually have almost a full-blown panic. Just I can feel the different, symptoms coming on, but I'm like, no, we're going to go in here. We're going to do what we need to do. And like everyone else was putting in the chat, I could hear your voice in my head. I could hear different things that you were saying. So I was like, okay, just go through the strategy. You'll be fine. And I felt good through the test. But I noticed that even after seeing, that I failed the exam, I didn't feel the need to be like, okay, I'm going to start crying. This is just, emotional, too much for me. I was able to regroup and, I was like, when do I get to test again? Let's just do this because I'm going to get there. Right. And I follow a lot of your groups and individuals, and I think they're great. I think the biggest thing for me this time around was the positive affirmations, looking at things that that maybe I didn't pay too much attention to, as far as areas that I could possibly improve on, because I seem to get between two different answers, which I'm thinking, okay, it's this one or that one, but how do you pick between the two? Because I feel that I can narrow it down. But yeah, what things do you suggest for this last time? Hopefully.
So from what you've told me, a lot of what you're doing is the final touches now. And this is a very delicate situation because we don't want to change everything. And what I used to always tell people is you don't want to throw a dynamite stick in the bottom of the house and watch it explode when all we have to do is change the light bulb and the fixture to make it look different than what it did last time. So from what you've told me, being able to identify a strategy or technique for when you are in between the last two answer choices for what to do.
Yeah.
So my biggest recommendation when it comes down to this is look back at the question, because the question is the template for what the answer should be. A lot of times people spend too much time and monopolize time on reading the answer choices and wrestling in between the answer choices against each answer choice based on what they've heard outside of the exam. Not the case. What we need to do is say this is the two possible answer choices for semantics. Let's just say B and C. So let's say we compare B back to the question and say, maybe. And then we compare C back to the question and C does not look like it connects. B is most likely going to be our answer, not to say I'm 100% correct all the time, but B connects back better. So I'm going to go with B as my answer choice. And that is an easier way to make sure that you're having a higher likelihood of picking the right answer, because the question is there for a reason, which is to provide us the details that we have to fill in the gaps with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
As well as maintaining everything that you've done up to this point. Because a lot of times people feel like, I failed by X, Y, or Z. I always say, and this is an unpublished theory that I have, that people that fail by 10 or less blame themselves. People that fail by 10 or more blame the exam. And you're in the situation of where you've been repping and rocking with me for a decent amount of time. So I failed the exam. I'm excited because I've gained insight about what I need to do for the next one. So if I see another 170 questions, I'm kicking the chest in. I'm kicking the front door in and saying, I'm here to collect the pass sheet. I'm going to get the job done. I'm here to get a murder charge because I'm about to kill this exam.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I'm just like, okay, let's energize because we're doing it this time. I'm ready.
So I would run the same exact steps, same exact preparation, same exact strategies with that one added caveat, because 3 points or 4 points is not that much in the scheme of things, because it's like, okay, if I would have compared it back or saw a different detail in the question, I'm on the passing side of it.
Okay.
It'd be different if you told me, Phil, I got blown out by 70 to 80 questions. I would say, all right, we need to rebuild the whole house. But you're talking about 4 points.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to do this, and yeah, I just need those final little touches and just need to keep going.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I'm not going to provide too much more because again, we don't need to change a ton of it. So that one strategy alone can change a lot of people's preparation anyway.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, and if you need anything else, just reach out.
Okay, I will.
All right, awesome. All right, I feel motivated and prepared for the exam. However, failed the exam by 3 points and 5 points. I'm not trying to lose hope, but get discouraged each time after feeling as if I'm ready, about to test again in December.
Hi, Phil.
How's it going? You're kind of faint. Can you speak up a
Okay,
little
there
bit?
we go. Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm trying my best. So
Yes.
what has you feeling discouraged?
Well, I guess just the fact that I haven't passed, I've been with you for a while, and I still have I have all the material that I was using last year, all the groups, the study groups that I was going to. And I pull that stuff out, I look at it, and I'm at the point now, it's almost like, I guess, kind of what Robin says, and I feel like you're going to press this, it's going to be repeat for what you told Lauren. I feel like I could pass this test. Like, I know I can. And when I lose like the 3 points, and then the last time it was 5 points, I was just like, it's something, I don't know what it is. And I thought there's this method to this madness. Like, what am I not doing when I'm reading these questions? Because in my mind, I'm thinking I'm reading it right and answering it correctly, but obviously not. And then in my back of my mind, I'm thinking like, well, what questions did I get wrong? Like, what was it that I was doing? Because the last exam that I took last year, I kind of felt like some of those questions, like I felt that the test was fairly easy. Like, I really thought I had that test. I really did. And then when it said fail, and then I didn't even look at the score. It wasn't until I was driving that I said, I need to look and see how much I failed by. And then when I saw it was like 5 points, I was like, I almost like crashed my car, but I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. 5 points, and so yeah, I don't know. I just, it's trying to read it. Even like that question you posed today, and then I processed it afterwards, and I was like, yeah, I forgot the setting that I was in. It was like, you're this emergency social worker, it just kind of flew out the window because I think I was trying to go too fast.
So my biggest recommendation would be to separate yourself from the results and focus entirely on your process.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean or no?
No. So like processing how I'm processing the information.
Yes. As well as how you're getting there. And after I said that, I was like, all right, I'm a therapist. I'll stay as quiet as I need to. But what I mean is, a lot of times when we do things as humans, we're naturally wired to focus entirely on the results of whether I passed it, or if I pass it, I need to see what score I got. And then we start like comparing ourselves to all of these different things or all of these different standards. And then it like blows our minds. So I'm a huge proponent of, it doesn't matter what you do, it's who you are and how you did it that matters. So when you are looking at the exam results, I wouldn't even think about 3 or 5 points. I would say, what process did I run during this exam to get 3 to 5 points away? Because that's not a lot of points to get away. However, there is a gap in my process, and it may simply be that once you feel that the questions are easier, you don't read them as intently, and then you lose yourself in the exam because you're like, this is too easy. I'm just going to start snapping my fingers and clicking the answer as fast as I can to get out to collect my sheet.
Mm.
So my biggest recommendation for people that are like, man, the exam is easy, is good. Kill it harder. Try to get 100%. So if you feel like the exam is easy, that is an indication to slap the brakes, make sure you're reading it intently, ensuring that your answer connects back to the question, and making sure that you finish the job. Because a lot of times as humans, we tend to be like, all right, this is an easy task, or, oh, I already understand this, so I'm not even going to pay attention 100%. And then when you get knocked out, it's like, whoa, I didn't even see that coming. And it's like, Well, because your focus wasn't there anymore.
Right.
And that's where a lot of times people that have like gotten close to the exam, again, I tell people like don't change a whole lot of things, but also don't forget who you are and what got you to where you were when you got the good results. So being intentional and deliberate and being willing to look at it and finish the job is more important than being able to start and say, yo, this is easy. I'm glad they gave me these questions because I'm blowing through them. Because a lot of times I hear that is, Phil, the exam version that I got was super easy. I don't even know how I didn't pass it. And it's because if you feel it's easy, you're telling the questions what the answer is prior to reading the answers. So when you see the answer that you think it is without even reading the question entirely, you're clicking and bagging and tagging it. And it's like, give the exam a respect and read each question as if you don't know the answer, and don't try to tell the questions the answers before being able to get there. So that's what I'm talking about, is of like, be so focused on your process that regardless of the question that is in front of you, you're not saying it's easy or not easy, and you're saying, okay, I know that I can get to the answer as long as I follow the process that I'm comfortable with and that I've done up to this point, and I'm not introducing any new strategies. But being able to walk into that exam and say, I don't know every answer, but I know that in my tool bag or in my backpack that I have what I need to get there. And a lot of times people will practice and go through all of these questions and rep with all of these programs and say, well, I know the answer based on the fact that every time CPS is an answer choice, I have to pick it. Or every time I see subpoena, I need to assert privilege. Or every time I see this or that, I'm jumping all the way to the conclusions. And when you jump to conclusions throughout the exam, you may feel like you're getting high distances, but it's actually exhausting you, so that way you're not even able to stay focused and get to the end of the result.
Okay. So I'll just focus on the process then.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be like it's like voodoo magic of like the process, bruh. It's what do you need to do to keep yourself motivated, focused, and not get yourself down and being like, this is going to be my third shot. What do I do now?
Right. Because I'm telling you, I get to the point where it's like, okay, so how many more of these tests do you really want to take before, before giving up? Like, I don't want to give up, but it's like, how much can I handle, within my own self? Because I feel like I really thought the second time, like, okay, I got this. I was motivated. I mean, I was pumped up. I had all the inspiration. I mean, I had affirmations all over everywhere, in my head. I mean, I knew in my mind. And it's almost like I was too confident, but then after taking it, I felt numb. Like I was like even numb to even the score. Once I found out what score I made, it's like I got numb. And that's kind of almost where I'm at now, but it's like the studying part. Like I know I need to study, and even with the COVID stuff, my test is in December, but it's like I know I need to study, but then it's just getting that motivation, not the motivation, but it's just like, you got to get back to doing this. And I do study, but it's not as intense as it was before,
And that's okay. You don't need to be as intense before. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because you didn't lose that knowledge or the techniques or strategies that you practiced before.
Right.
You don't have to reteach yourself anything. You're basically just glossing over it and looking at it like, okay, do I know this? Okay, so I feel I know this. How do I apply this knowledge to questions? Okay, I can do that. That's fine. Let's bag and tag that topic. All right, let's move to the next one. All right, let's do the same process. Bag it and tag it and move it to the next one. All right, let's keep moving and going. So building yourself up and saying like, yo, I know this, but I'm still going to respect it enough to at least review it. And the only exam that I'm going to have to take is this next one because it ends here.
Right.
We can't plan
Right.
for 2 exams down the road because you're not there yet.
That's true. I
But
know.
in your head, you're hearing other people that are like, man, this is my 8th or 10th or 12th or 15th or 30th time. And you're like,
Right.
man, I hope I don't get there. And it's like, you're nowhere near there yet because the only opportunity that matters is this next one.
That's true. I know, you're right. I mean, I've already put myself like, oh my God, 10 times, 12 times. Like, no, I don't want it like that, So you're right. You're right. I got to stay in the here and now, focus right now.
in knowing that everything has a lesson in it. Everything. So even though it was like, man, I didn't get to where I wanted to go, I fail every single day of my life. And I feel like when negative things happen to me, it's like, yo, you've been in worse situations than you're in right now, and you're grateful to even be in this situation. So what am I trying to do to divert myself? So for example, for those that know, my laptop that I invested in, that is way better than the laptop I'm on right now, was cutting out. The mic wasn't registering 100% of the time, and I wasn't able to use it, which threw a wrench in my situation, which is like, well, crap, now I have to downgrade myself again to where I once was. And then this system wanted to start acting up. And the craziest thing about that was like, okay, I can take this on. This is nostalgic. This is awesome. This is great. Then I wanted to hook up the new webcam that I bought, that I invested in, that I progressed in. That one didn't want to work. So now I'm operating on my old laptop and my old webcam. And then I was like, all right, this is cool. This is like nostalgic and throwing me back. I can still do this. So then another lesson wanted to throw itself in front of me. I'm cooking with my girlfriend. I'm peeling potatoes. I'm feeling good and great. Slice my finger, all the crap. And then I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I wasn't even thinking about it. I tried typing on it later. There's blood smearing out of my hand. And I'm like, well, a major part of my life that I have to do every single day isn't possible. And then if it wants to make matters even funnier, I was opening a package, sliced my other hand up, and I was like,
Oh no.
how much more am I going to have to go through? And it's like, yo, I'm just grateful to be here and be able to do what I'm able to do. I remember
Right.
what it felt like to be like, yo, am I even going to have enough money in my account to be able to eat? So all of these things that are like, man, I can't believe that's happened to you, or I can't believe that's happened to you. So a lot of times people are like, why is this happening to me? I'm like, why not me? Because I need to get these lessons and exposures and all of these things in order for me to feel grateful about being able to be in this situation. There are people that can't even afford to pay for the exam, and I'm able to pay for it 3 times, thank you, and all of these things. So that's what I'm talking about is don't focus on the result of like, man, I can't believe I didn't do this. Of, well, I'm glad I got the opportunity and the exposure and willingness and the capability to be able to think to get to where I need to go. And all of these things are going to lead you further. So when you start a new project or objective or something in your life, when it doesn't go the way you wanted it to, you can have a small smirk in the back of your head and say, I've been here before. I
Right.
know what it feels like to go without being able to succeed. I can utilize that experience and exposure to get to me where I need to go now, and almost have a laugh about it and say, it's not as bad as it was before.
Yeah, that's true. I want to get to that laugh. That's what I want to do.
But that's
I
what you
want to
have to
get.
prepare your mind for right now. Because if you got everything that you wanted right now, do you think you would have the experience and the exposure and everything and all the skills and techniques and capabilities to maintain that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are the things you have to think about is start putting all the goals around your house, not just positive affirmations, but yo, I want to do this after I pass my licensure. That should be enough for me to feel motivated and excited, because that experience of when I'm going to be able to laugh in the back of my head starts when I pass my exam. And these are the things that I want to do when it happens.
Right.
So
Oh
those are
yeah.
the things that are going to get you motivated and pumped up is, yo, I want to be able to do this when this happens.
Oh yeah. I've done that too. Trust and believe. Yeah, I've done that as well. You know. So I appreciate all the support you've given me, even and everything. So I'm just gonna still just stick with it.
Good. And just keep pumping yourself up, because I know it's way too easy when you feel like you're down to be able to get up, but you're not as down as you once were. And you just have to be able to, as long as you can, and this isn't my phrase, it's the famous Les Brown motivational speaker. If you can look up, you can definitely get up. And I know you can get up because you're here, you're excited, you're pumped up, you're looking for guidance. So you are open and ready for all the things that are there for you.
Right. Thank you.
And if I can help in any way, just let me know.
Sure will. Thank you.
It is my pleasure. I failed 5 times for my LSW, then passed. Then I failed 2 times for my LCSW. I can't wait to take the exam. However, the board does not allow me to take the exam because of some type of expiration. I applied, but because of COVID, everything is super slow. No one processed my paperwork, and I missed my deadline. And the goal that I made for myself, which was to pass the exam before I turned 50, which was 5 days ago, I just want to pass this exam so bad.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's up?
Yeah, so I couldn't. I failed 5 times. Took it in New York, my exam, and at that time they didn't have. Actually, they still don't have to this time the extra time for a person whose a second language is not first language, not English, which is in my case. And so now I moved to New Jersey, and they allowed this. So, it was a long time for, I fell 5 times. It was really tough on me, my self-esteem. And when I finally passed, I felt like I won the lottery. I was like, oh, so happy. It was like one of the happiest days in my life. And so when I was, I didn't have the hours, so I was building these hours for my clinical, so now I applied to get an approval to take the exam because I didn't have the hours. So it looks like my approval expired, and so I sent an application to send the payment to give me another expiration date. But I think by now I actually think I have my 3,000 hours to do this. I don't think I need this approval. So anyways, when I didn't pass 2 times, I felt like I was going to pass because I felt, I've been in the field for a while, and I felt good, passing my LSW exam. But I understand now why I didn't pass, because I wasn't studying. The study way I had for myself didn't work out for me. So since I met you, I feel like I progressed so much. And I really feel excited to take the exam. And I'm also frustrated at the same time because it's out of my control and I can't take the exam because of this, whatever's going on with the board here in New Jersey. But anyways, I feel prepared now, finally, but I really don't know if I know the process, if I'm doing something wrong, because nobody's getting back to me. I call, leave messages, I email, and they didn't cash the check that I sent them. And this was back in August. So nobody's getting back to me. So, and I was like, I was confident I was going to take the exam before on my birthday, September 28th, and pass this exam, which is a goal I made for myself. Didn't work out this way, but I still am very excited to take the exam, but I just don't know what's going on with this, everybody working remotely and, this whole process. Do you know any, if I need an approval to take the exam? Like because why I applied for this approval because I didn't have the hours, but now I have the clinical hours. So do I have to do a whole new application, or do you know anything about that? Because I want the answers for that from the board, but nobody gets back to me. It's really frustrating.
So let me make sure I understand. So you applied to take the LCSW exam. They never cashed your check. They never reviewed your paperwork. But now that you have the 3,000 hours, you're wondering if you have to submit another application?
Yeah, because I don't know if they saw that, if I didn't apply the right way, they probably look at my paperwork and said, oh, this woman, she has to apply, she has to do a whole new application.
So my task or like thing that I would have you do is email them at least one time every single day.
Yeah.
I need to have them know your email and your name as much as they know their own.
Yeah. It's like, I think, a general mailbox. But yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, a good advice for me to keep bugging them until I hear from them. Because calling is not, it's not working out. So I think email is a way. So I just feel so ready, and I'm afraid that all the, you know, the courses I took with you, the group courses and the individual courses, I don't want that to fade away, you know, and that's a possibility because, you know, life gets busy and you don't have as much time. You know, I was feeling really pumped.
So that's a different beast, I guess. So a way for somebody to stay, I guess, sharp on their skills or techniques that they have for the exam while waiting is to continue to practice them. And that could be done in multiple different forms. That could be looking back at questions, whether you know the answer or not, and simply asking yourself, okay, so what are the key details that I need? If this answer were to change, what needs to change about this question, and how would I be able to recognize that? Or going back to questions that you already have and looking back at those as well, and making sure that you understand the thought process, not just how you know the answer, but how did I get to the answer? And if I were to find a different way to get to the answer, would it be a better thing for me? So that's where practicing things over and over and over, but you don't have to immerse yourself like 100%. You could just make sure you do one question every single day, maybe a handful of them every single day. But
Mhm.
I would continuously email the board until you get a response to make sure it allows for you to feel like you're doing something in the process or putting energy and effort into the process to influence it in some way, shape, or form. Does that make sense?
Yes. So far, I emailed them, I think, 3 times. You know, but I called many times, left messages. Yeah, so that's what I need to. I don't know if I have to do a whole new application. That's frustrating because I'm second guessing here. But did I need to do this application for an approval to take the exam? Or now I have the hours, or should just have to do a whole new application? All it would take is somebody to give me a call and explain what I need to do. And if I have to pay for a whole new application, that's fine. It's not a problem. Just, you know, very insecure about that.
So not having a response is kind of making it more anxious for you.
Oh yeah, sure. You know,
So
because this is out of my control. I've done everything that I can to make, you know, to be prepared and studying and, you know, but I can't do their job, you know. And they're rude. When I got somebody on the phone, like Lisa said, you know, she had somebody rude, and not everybody's helpful. Some people, not everybody. So I would say like a couple of people are rude, not everybody, but I don't think what I called on the phone, it was for a different, or was the ASWB. And they said, no, you have to go to your board. So I have always a representative from ASWB, but not from my New Jersey Board of Social Work. You know?
and I would say not to question yourself because the delays are almost inevitable with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes people aren't hearing back for months, and it's been close to 2 months for you, but some people have told me 3, 4, 5, or 6 months before they even hear anything. But that's where, if it allows to ease your mind, I would just continuously do something to put forth the action. Maybe you're going up the chain of command, reaching out to the director of the board, reaching out to other people on the board, etc., to make sure that you are getting a response at least for, all right, we're just looking into this, and trying your best, but delays are almost inevitable. But I know what it feels like to want something and have to wait for it, and
Yeah.
then wonder, did I do everything right? Did I miss a box? Did I do any of this? But they'll tell you when they actually review it. I would not recommend submitting another application based on the fact that you don't know if they got your first application, but the chances are they got it, and they're so far behind that they're not able to to see it. So I would just keep doing your due diligence, but worst case scenario, go up the chain of command, making sure that you're getting your needs met.
All right. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be able to help.